Hello, hello. Welcome, my heartfelt leaders. This is Ashley Pitzer, and you're listening to Practicing Life Podcast. Today, I have a guest with me. Her name is Sandra, and I'm going to let her pronounce her last name because she is from Germany, of all places. And even though I used to speak German, I don't speak it now, and I'm not going to butcher her name. So, Sandra and I kind of really got to know Sandra from being in, if you will, a mastermind of hypnosis program. So we both participated in this program where every, month you had a new hypnosis that was given to you and challenges. And so we were always doing lives talking about what this hypnosis video or audio was providing for us, what we were getting out of it, what we were struggling with in our life. And there's a lot of connections that you make in those settings. And I really loved Sandra. Sandra's energy was just pure peace and light and love. And she has a way of collecting her thoughts and really presenting them so beautifully and uniquely. And I have watched her since I've left this program, and she is phenomenal. She's putting out so much powerful, free, just vital meditations for your practice and for your soul to be able to live kind of that enlightened, spiritual, heartfelt life. And this podcast, if nothing, is for my heartfelt leaders. It's living from your heart instead of your mind. And so I'm happy to welcome Sandra here. I'm happy to talk to her and find out more about her and her story. One thing I will let you know right off the bat is please stay tuned until the very end of the podcast because Sandra is going to delight us with one of her own powerful ancient meditation practices. In addition, please check out the show notes because the show notes are going to lead you to her, I believe it's a YouTube site that is US based. Since she's in Germany, she has like a slightly different site. But this will be accessible to anybody, and you can start tapping into her as a resource and going there. And she has a free meditation practice for you on this website. And I'm so delighted to have you. So, Sandra, first of all, let's say, how do you say your last name?
Hochhuber. Hochhuber. It's
Hochhuber.
difficult. It's also difficult in Germany. I always have to explain it. So
I love it. I love it. So let's dive in and let's hear your story. So what led you to this point where you are today?
So for me, my spiritual journey started quite early in life as I was quite ill at a very young age. So there was this huge autoimmune disease and things going on with that. And I just knew it was something with it. There was something behind it more than the doctor said. And it was Graves' disease. I don't know whether you know it. It's like where your eyes show up, and it's of the thyroid. And I had an operation because they said it could be that I was getting blind because of these eyes. And in this operation, they made a mistake. And so the doctor he cut my optic nerve, and I was blind on the left eye. And they said, you can't do anything about it. By then it was impossible that a nerve that was once cut could grow together again. And inside of me, there was this voice coming from somewhere else saying no. In a very, like, it sounded like an orchestra without music. So, and this is when I really started to get into natural medicine, into ancient medicines, into even more into the spiritual realm. And whatever helped me then So I see normally, I don't need glasses or anything like that. And my nerve was getting back together and no one can explain it. And so I really know a lot about the healing of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always believe in my patients and clients' possibilities, that they really have the possibility to change their life. And
That's what makes you a great hypnotist, because you believe from an experience in your own life. So I really do apologize because I didn't state, Sandra is a hypnotist and a healer of hearts. And she specifically works with people that, like clients who have some major diseases, as you heard her story. I mean, she knows exactly what it's like to have a disease and cutting your nerve and not being able to see. So more than just disease here, but she also works with clients who have traumatic or toxic relationships and helping that healing of the heart. So, Sandra's story here is right off the bat from an early childhood. She's able to personally experience one side of it and transition to the other. And being a hypnotist as well, the more that you believe what's possible, the more that you shed that light and share it with the person that you're hypnotizing. And it is conducive to each other. So if a hypnotist doesn't believe it's possible, I mean, this is why you need to find really good hypnotists, because if a hypnotist doesn't believe it's possible, it's affecting your results and what you're getting out of hypnosis. And so anybody out there that is listening, if you're going through something that is traumatic and difficult, if you have a major injury, if you have a major disease, then you already know from Sandra's story how powerful she is as a hypnotist, because she knows what it's like from a personal experience, not just an understanding, and she can help you heal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And in 2013, I started with hypnosis. It was my first NLP seminar, and the guy who does these seminars, he really focuses on hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if I would have known then that it was about hypnosis, I would not have done it.
That's funny.
I've gone there.
You were trying to lead that life. The universe brought it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And it was like in the mornings we had this theory classes, and in the afternoons we were working together. And I had a hypnotherapist who said he personally could not be put into a state of hypnosis. He said, you can't do it with him. And this was the first person I was working with. And he was from Switzerland. And perhaps you remember from the days when you were speaking German that the Swiss German is really very, very nice. It's so lovely. And I thought perhaps he's more into feeling than not being so visual. So I was doing a hypnosis very much based on the feeling. And after it, he said, now you got me. And so it was a very good start. So I had a feeling for it from the beginning. It was really something that I loved from the start, really, right from the start. It's such a great method. It's such a wonderful tool.
It really is.
And in one of the trances, I got this message or even command to write books on self-love, because self-love is one of the big keys to healing. And I thought it would be all about the healing of the body. And then a toxic relationship showed up. And so there was another round in the realm of self-love. It's really all about self-love when it comes to bad relationships. It's really the big foundation of it.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, one of the things that I've learned is you don't destroy what you love. And so if you love yourself, hence self-love, you wouldn't put yourself in situations that diminish that feeling of self-love. You would honor and respect and take care of. And so, I mean, but it's also a lesson that I've had to learn, so I can relate to you. And I've had a toxic relationship as well. And for me, like when I reflect back on that relationship, it was a lot. I was making choices and I was allowing this to happen because I had some type of association in my brain that loving others meant self-sacrifice on my part. Well, self-sacrifice depletes a lot of your love.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to figure it out. And that was part of my journey. And as you mentioned, writing books. So this poster behind us.
Yeah, I know.
That is my book that I have written, and it's a fantasy novel. And anyway, in this fantasy novel, it's about a girl going through self-discovery, but a lot of it is about learning to love yourself and stand into your power. So there's a lot of coaching and
Yeah.
not just reprogramming and psychology in this book, because that's just who I am. But I can completely relate to what you're saying. And what I really love you expressing is that, just like when I started writing a book, I had no idea when I was going to be writing this book that it was going to turn into stories on how to understand yourself better and to coach yourself. Essentially, I had no idea that was going to be part of it. And that's what you're saying is like when you started writing, you had this idea of one concept of love, and now it's been expanded because you listened and you trusted your intuition. And I really love that, because now you've gotten two stories that you shared, that, well, three, because of hypnosis that wasn't on your agenda, of how intuition has really stepped in and guided you. And you've kind of explained what intuition feels like and happens in your body. So that's really interesting, because intuition can, it's relatable, but we all have different experiences of how it shows up in our body and how it comes through us. And everybody's a little bit different. So it's nice to hear other people's perspectives, because a lot of people have that like gut reaction. Well, I don't have a gut reaction. And apparently yours is more of that, the inner voice coming in so strongly and guiding you. So what do you
Yeah, and also it's like the more you're opening up to the possibility of getting all these information, the easier it is.
Yeah.
So yesterday one of my animal medicine, one of the animals is like it's the parrot.
Okay. Oh, beautiful card. Okay, parrots. I love it. And there's two, and they're cuddling.
Yeah.
For the people that
It's
are.
really a very nice. It's an old painting.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And so last week I was in the zoo, and they were showing up the parrots. They're always coming to me and singing even songs. Like there are some parrots who sing songs. And I've just forgotten about it again. And then for the following days, I've seen again and again and again things coming up with parrots on it. So it's totally clear. Okay.
You're
There's
receiving the
something
message.
in it. So, and I think a few years ago, I would not have seen this.
Your
So
awareness wouldn't have been,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So
it's
what,
also what we are growing and what we're ready to see and hear and listen to. So according to human design, I have this gut response,
okay.
and I tend to I tend to miss it. So.
Well, I love human design and I'm completely fascinated by it.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, because I love animal medicine too. We're very like-minded people here. So
I
what
think
what
so
do
too.
parrots mean to you? I mean, besides what comes to my mind, I want to know what comes to your mind.
I didn't understand the beginning. Could you
Okay,
repeat?
so like when you think of parrots, what comes to mind to
Okay.
you? Like their significance.
So they're colorful. They're animals that can learn different languages, like from other.
Look at that. And we brought that up at the very beginning of this episode too,
Yeah, true, true.
about foreign languages
Yeah.
and adapting.
So, and it's a kind of traveler between the worlds,
I love it.
and they are very, very close with each other.
So
So they're
social.
very, very, very social. And they have this humor, so they're laughing a lot, and they're really funny. So they're making fun of each other,
Yeah.
which is quite surprising. And
So
for you, what
For
do
for
you think?
me, I really think of joy, because they're always talking to you and interacting and seeing. They want to be noticed. They want to take up space. There's no issues with self-worth or self-value. They're like, look at me, baby. So yeah, I consider them very happy, social, like fun-loving. But I love what you added to it too, because I didn't even think about the fact that they parrot you, so they mock you, which means they are really good at languages. So
Yeah,
very fascinating, great observation. I love it. So, and I
it's
love,
great to work with animal medicine. It's really such a pleasure.
well, I had this whole experience just the other day, and I had a queen bee inside of
Oh,
my house. I was washing
wow.
dishes and I looked up, and on my window, there is a bee in my house, not on the outside of the window. And
Mhm.
I had my values like stickied on the window, and it was right there on my values, like queen bee resting and showing me animal medicine on my values. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I hear the universe loud and clear. And I mean, the first question I had to ask myself was like, what do bees mean to me? And I was also thinking that was the day that I was mailing out my PR boxes for my fantasy book. And I have a character in there that I feel like every character relates to me, because that's how it is when you write a book. But one
Mhm.
character represents me right now, and her name is Nana Honey. Me right here on my values, and my values are talking about love and creativity, and bees represent like love and the nectar of life. And the fact that it was a queen bee, so the person that's nourishing and leading all of the people, I was like, oh dang, universe, dang.
And
So
it's also there for the survival of the whole troop.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the queen bee is the one who's responsible for the next year again.
yeah, regenerating the next youth cycle, and yeah, providing for everybody. And
Yeah,
so, yeah,
it's really great.
it is great. I love it. So,
Wonderful sign.
it is. And then I want to ask you too, because I forgot that you were writing a book. You had mentioned that towards the end of when I was in this hypnosis group with you. So what is going on with your book? Have you finished it? Are you marketing it? Is it a work in progress?
It is a work in progress, and I said that the first part is going to be a 3 series. So the first part is going to be on. It's called Selflove Smells Like Vanilla,
Oh, I love.
and they say, what's it in English? Self-praise things, and they have something very similar in German.
Okay.
Where they say Eigenlob stinkt. So it's like, and loben is the same family of words as loving.
Okay.
So, and this first book, it's like it's so huge with so many pages. So I filtered one part of it, and it's only going to be about heartache and what to do after or in toxic heartache, working on that and how to get out of it. So I separated it, and I'm gonna use it to make it easier for me to bring it out, to show it.
Okay.
As it feels somehow less, not that big, not that huge, not that big project. So I'll start with the smaller one in order to learn how to promote, how to market a book. So you now, after your first book, you're really so much better at marketing a book. And this is like what I'm doing. And I'm really I'm finishing it. I have like a friend of mine is going to be an editor, and so
Oh, that's wonderful.
it's coming out, and I'll probably also translate it into English. So,
That's amazing.
yes.
Well, congratulations. I mean,
It's wonderful to write, don't you think so?
yeah, I think that a lot has opened up within me with writing, a lot of trust coming in, and a lot of living from my heart. Because in my past, when I had a job, a lot of my working capabilities came from my analytics and my brain. And when it comes to writing, anytime I start getting into my head, my work slows down and I get into overthinking and I get into worry and I get into anxiety. And it's easy to recognize because I'm so in tune with my body. So I'm like, I know what I'm doing right away and I know where I need to be. And so it's a really interesting process because half the time, for me at least, when I'm writing, it is about bringing it back to, I just need to write from my heart and I can't worry about how somebody's going to react to this or if they think this is the right or wrong thing to say, or I'm saying this, in a way that's like maybe offensive to them or not correct, or, and the thing is there's so many ways, just like love, there's so many ways to love a person. And so love can look really, really differently. And my book is a lot about love. It's about discovering who you are and loving yourself. And so some people are going to totally relate to it and some people aren't. And I just can't get into what this is going to mean to somebody else. So a lot of personal strength and growth has come from just trusting and writing what I want to write, because that's when I'm really, really happy and I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I didn't hire a book coach. So I planned out my budget of my money, and this is how I spent my money, and I didn't factor in a book coach. I would tell anybody out there writing a book now, I can totally see the value of a book coach. Totally see it. And I think if I would have gone back and made a different decision, which I made the right decision for me, so I'm not regretting my decision, but I would say that it would have been nice to have the support of a book coach, and just like knowing things like when to do your editing, like when to do your beta reader, when to send out your art copies. I've had to figure out all of this along the way, and learning how to market myself. Woo, lots of stretch and growth.
Yeah.
And an editor, or not an editor, but a book coach has been through all of this multiple times. And it's like having a shortcut. And I'm like Winnie the Pooh, and I find like instead of going through the door, I go through the window. Do I get inside? Yes, absolutely. I managed to get inside, but it would have been a hell of a lot easier going through the front door. So but now I get to share all of these experiences with the world. And I had an adventure doing it, because going through a window is going to be a lot more entertaining and fun. So yeah.
Very, very true.
And so what do you feel like, as far as when you're working with your clients, what do you seem to attract the most of, like clientele wise?
So they find themselves again and again and again in bad relationship. And they don't know why. They can't figure it out. And some of them even say, I'm done with this. Never again.
I'm not going to get in another relationship.
I won't do this again. So there's a lot of perfectionism going on. So for me, there's many of the different kinds of insecurely attached people. So it's like much more women, and it's like the anxious attachment style, many fearful avoidance, and also dismissive avoidance. And they tend to say that dismissive avoidance don't look for help, and I think the opposite is true. So
right, speak on that.
So they are, and it's, there is on the one side there is this. I'll draw something, okay? it's always easier for me to draw. So we have four basic needs when it comes to our psyche. Four basic needs. So the first one is the one for love and being close, and it's the one that we're starting right away with it when we come to this planet. So it's really our first and most important one, and the one that we really need then when we're the little ones.
So would you say that is also belonging, or is that in a separate category?
It's the same category.
Okay.
It's like being close, being loved, being part of a relationship, so to speak. Then on the other side, there is this need of autonomy, and we search for control. So these are two things. They show often up, they really often show up in our relationship. And we pretend we could be having control, and we search autonomy, and we also want to be close but not too close, and then it's this going back and forth. And the third of these principles is the one for self-worth, so that you want to feel worthy. And self-worth is really the center of our psyche.
Okay.
Who are worthy have so much easier to feel themselves, who feel good enough with themselves, who feel worthy. They have easier lives.
I would agree with that.
And then there's the final one. It's the one where it comes to pleasure. So that, which was called the is for Freud. So like the it's like the inner child. So it's these feelings going on. There's this happy version with a lot of joy and pleasure and laughter and all the good things going on. And then there is the version of it that is in fear. And so this all has to do with this basic need. So we want more of one aspect and less of the other one.
Yeah. So basically what you're telling me, out of these 4 needs, there's a yin and yang to it. So there's your poles, your duality of it. So pleasure versus, like, I think of pain, but you're saying fear, same thing to me. So that's like one, and like your self-worth is like one side of it. But then when you get into it, it's self-deprecation on the opposite side of it.
It's like they all have, we want to find love, and we want to find autonomy, and we want to have this pleasure, and we also want to feel worthy. We want all of them.
All at the same time.
Yeah, and we don't want the opposite. And this is a psychologist called Klaus Grabe. He was writing on this subject, and he's done great work, and so it's really something that helps you to look at things happening to you. So it's so much easier to see, oh, what is missing there for me? What do I want to get? What do I want to gain? It helps really a lot to structure what's going on in you.
Yeah.
It's really an excellent strategy to work with it, and it makes it so much easier. Because, for example, if you have these, we were talking about the bad relationship, and one of them, the dismissive avoidant, he wants a lot autonomy and is afraid of love and being close. So this person is more on this side, doing everything for his or her autonomy. And the person who's more on the anxious side is looking for love and doing everything for love.
But has
and even staying in a bad relationship, for example, because it's so important for them. And the fearful avoidant is from one pole to the other one, switching from one side to the other one. So it makes these patterns easier to understand. And underlying you take the dismissive avoidant, who's really into autonomy, underlying this basic need, there is a fear of not being loved. So it's like there's always underlying the other side. And so the fearful avoidance, they often switch, even in one relationship, from one side to the other. And when I'm working with my clients, and they think they are anxious avoidant. And if you go through their history with all the exes, then we find out, oh, there was this guy who was perhaps the really nice person and who was more on the anxious side, and you were then the dismissive one. So it's really very, very interesting, and it helps a lot to understand it with your head, and then be able to work on it with, for example, hypnosis, get it into every little cell of you.
Yeah, that's the power of hypnosis. So whatever it is that you're struggling with or feeling stuck on, or is a limitation in your life, you can get into kind of a relaxed, focused state, and you can let your subconscious, which rules all of your behaviors, it's your actions that you're taking all day unconsciously, and you can program your brain to receive information that's going to help you overcome these obstacles. I mean, this is the basis behind what hypnosis is. And so a lot of people use it in their careers, or if they have a major fear, a lot of people choose. I'm just talking to my audience, but if you have a fear of like snakes, that would be me. But anyway, whatever your fear is, people might see hypnosis, but this can apply even to relationships. And that's what Sandra is saying, is that, once they identify the root cause of what's going on in your relationships with people, then you can use that tool of hypnosis to kind of expand how your mind sees a picture, and to let your body and your brain know that you're safe and this is how you want to do it the next time. And create a new meaning within your body and your mind to live from.
Yeah, and create these, first of all, a good relationship with yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That you love yourself, that you are worthy for you, that you give yourself this autonomy to decide, and that you can enjoy your life, that you have the pleasure in your life. So it's really it's a nice circle, I think.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm still doing multiple rounds of coaching, even though I coach people and stuff like that. I'm still a student, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing. And for me, my belief system is that that's how it should be for the rest of my life. And I say should on purpose, because it is an act of self-love for me, and it is a discipline, and it creates value in my life. And so it's a high priority and value to me. But along the ways, like, we get into deeper and deeper layers of what we really think and what we really mean, and allowing ourselves to be open to new possibilities and new ways of thinking. I mean, this is why I'm in this work. This is why I love people who are in this work. Because living from this is how it is. This is how it always is. And like you were saying, that your clients, when they came to you, some of them were to the point that they're like, I'm just done with relationships. It's better for me not to have these relationships. And that is denying yourself as like essentially one of your 4 basic needs, which is that love and that closeness. And so you can definitely, I know people who have lived this lifestyle, you can totally go on living this way, but is this what's best for you? Is this giving you the joy that you want? Like, is this, are you open to trying something different so that you can have what you really truly want, and that value that you're worthy of what you really want?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to ask you too, I'm going to switch subjects here.
Yeah.
So one of the things I also know about you is like your ability, like, if for those of you that are listening to the podcast versus the YouTube, Sandra's entire room is filled with plants. And what I know about her is like, she seems to be some type of like plant genie. So we figure out what's going on there? Like, tell me, like, do you like, are you like I use this term freely, so maybe it's not appropriate, and I'm sorry if it's offensive, but are you like a the word witch is coming to my mind, like plant witch, like, are you, um,
I work a
plant
lot
medicine?
with plant medicine,
Yeah.
and it's always been easy for you. And I started to collect like flowers and herbs from a very, very young age. So no one was telling me what it was, and I was just starting along with it. And so it's probably been there before. And I think they're so good for your environment. And I live in a city, so it's good to have something green around you.
Yeah.
And they are, I think many of the plants, they enjoy being loved as well. So they show it.
So you can't tell, but there's my one, my only plant in this office is my money tree.
Yeah. I have this different version of money tree, the pancake plant, you know?
Okay. Okay.
It's like the Dutch version of it. It's also a money plant.
I have one like that that's upstairs. I actually just had to repot it this weekend because it got some type of like not flea but gnat to it. I was like, no, you can't eat my plant. So, anyway, but I find it very interesting.
Try neem oil.
Yes, I did. I did buy some. Yeah. So like one of the things that I believe in, and this is the second time I've thought about it in this conversation, so I want to bring it up. But one of my belief systems is like what you gravitate towards, like what just whether it feels natural or you just have a high interest or appreciation or admiration towards is something that you did in a past life that your spirit remembers, so like I would say my guess would be that in a past life you did a lot with plants, whatever that may have been, whether it was like a herbal medicine doctor or like, because who knows, hundreds of years ago, that's how like I have a lot of Indian ancestors in my background. And so like even when I grew up as a little kid, my grandma was all like, you got an ear infection? Let me go grab some herbs and mix this stuff up and I'm gonna put this in your ear, and so like this is kind of how I grew up. So even hundreds of years ago, we didn't have like doctors like we do now, or if we did, it was only for the select few high class people that could have it. So I just think a lot of times, like for me, when I think about hypnosis, I wasn't planning on being hypnotized or becoming a hypnotist. It wasn't even in my forte. And it's just like one day I knew I needed to do it. But I really think that a lot of that comes from this was a past life, so it's so familiar to me.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And in one of the hypnosis seminars, there was an elderly lady who called herself a shaman and a witch.
Okay.
And she lives also in Bavaria at a wonderful lake, so really, really nice. And she saw me for the first time. She was coming up to me, looked me straight into the eye, and she said, "You are a shaman. You have always been a shaman. You will always be a shaman, and you can't do anything about it." That's the first time we connected with each other. So probably something like that was going on in my past.
I believe it. I
And you can
definitely
really work with hypnosis. We do this, that we go, if something shows up and we have the feeling that it's could be from a past life, we go in there. So
you
that's
believe in exploring.
great technique. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, when I
Um,
did my astrology reading by
yeah,
somebody who's phenomenal, I know there's a lot of people out there like show business astrologists, but I mean, like somebody who really studies it. I went to one and she was telling me, like you, she was like, oh, you had to have been like a shaman or something in your past life. And she's like, but it doesn't matter because this is right when I signed up to do my hypnosis school. I hadn't even
yeah.
started it, but I knew I was going to it. I had told her that I was doing it. And I was like,
Mhm.
what did the stars say about this? And anyway, I'm asking all these questions. And she was like, oh, she was like, well, like today, shamans are often in some type of like healing field, and hypnosis is one of those fields. And she was like,
Yeah.
so she's like, you're following your same pattern that you've had in multiple lives.
Mhm.
She was like, it's just for you. She told me personally that my inner work came from at some point in my life when I acted more purely in the healing field, something like a shaman. I must not have been able to provide for myself or survive. And it's created kind of an ancestral like fear within my spirit. And that's why I haven't always opened the door to that possibility in my life to be a healer
Mhm.
again, because that fear from my past is still showing up in my present. And that was her, kind of advice to me, was to work on that healing and just to keep that door open, essentially. Sorry.
Yeah. And also be aware of these old feelings coming up, being even older than you think.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that really blew my mind when I started doing energy work, is how much from past lives are brought forward. And I read that book, Many Lives, Many Masters. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to life, there's so much to life. And it's really interesting to think about the work that we do now and what it is setting up for us and what it is
Mm.
setting up for other people too. So it's really impactful.
Yeah. And it's also great to I sometimes work with elderly clients who have still who remember the Second World War, and there's a lot of fear going on, and it's so great what hypnosis can do about it. So it's really something that they then don't pass on to the next generations when they're all working on it. And there was this one guy who was, whenever there was like New Year's Eve, they tend to have all these explosions around and celebrate. And he was sitting under a table and hiding. And the same when there was anything going on in a movie or in the news, he was always hiding under the table and shaking. And so you can do really excellent work with hypnosis.
Yeah.
All your clients, go and look out for a hypnotist if you feel like it.
Well, this is the power of hypnosis, doing that age regression work and the timeline stuff. Absolutely. So powerful. And
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and guide us towards doing that meditation. But before
yeah,
we do that, I want to let everybody know that in the show notes, you're going to have Sandra's website. I didn't specifically ask this, but I'm going to assume that Sandra can work with anybody internationally because Zoom makes it possible to do anything, and even energy work can be
yeah.
done through Zoom. I've done it for years now, and I've hired people to do it. I've worked with multiple different people. It's so possible. The point is your thoughts aren't local. you know, Energy isn't local, and we are all connected energetically, and that's why it's possible. So if something that Sandra spoke to you personally, if it moved you, then that's a sign for you to probably reach out to her or sit with it and follow her at the least, to continue to consider what it is that's calling you towards Sandra. So I want to thank you for being on this show. And I'm going to wrap up now so that once we get done with meditation, we'll just kind of end it. So,
and now please only watch this or listen to it when you're not driving.
Exactly.
Always remember that.
Yes. Always
Thank
remember.
you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to talk to you. Enjoyed it a lot.
I enjoyed having you and learning and sharing. And so I really appreciate it. And I'm wishing you well. And everybody that is listening, let's get relaxed, get in a calm, comfortable place with no distractions. Pause this if you are driving because it is not safe.
No. So, like, stretch out. And I want you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Hold it. And exhale. And another deep breath in. Hold it. And exhale. The hand on your heart. How does it feel in your heart? What are the needs that you want to fulfill now, today, in the next few days? What does your intuition want to tell you right now? And put the other hand on your solar plexus chakra. It's like top of your belly. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. So whatever is in your heart, it wants to be in your life. Comes through this channel of the solar plexus. Move clockwise. It's wide and open. And wide, so wide is your heart. Feel the connection. Invite that which wants to show up. People who want to show up. Or the medicine that wants to show up. Into your heart. Dancing in your solar plexus chakra. Remember all the ones listening, standing in a circle. All of us inviting what is good for us. Now, look to the person standing on your left-hand side and send them good wishes and whatever they want in their life comes true. Then you look on your right side and you're grateful because this person wants you to thrive, to be worthy and love yourself. See it as a circle. Then you come back here, you're grateful, and you say thank you to all the other ones, to your heart and your solar plexus, to every little cell of yours. You can move your fingers and toes, stretch out, open your eyes, come back here, happy and relaxed.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I will say take care and I will see you next week.